Hello folks, Mark back with you with another vinyl update. This is a mix of things I've gotten for Record Store Day, and then also I picked up in Chicago over at Logan Hardware and also Reckless. A couple things I got online and some things I've gotten in some Cleveland local stores here in town. So hope you're all having a great spring. Looks like we're on the verge of summer here, so I hope you got some good plans for that. I'm going to go to New York City here in another week. I'm going to go see New York City Pop Fest featuring creation band The Loft. They're going to play one night. Also, the Darling Buds are going to play another night amongst other bands. Looking forward to that a lot. Been a big fan of Darling Buds and The Loft for years, so it'd be nice to be able to see them and a good excuse to go to New York. So, in any event, here's some records I'm going to show. I'm going to whip through them pretty quick here so we don't go too long. Famous last words. So these are some things I got just today here in Cleveland. These three I got in a store called Hausfrau. And they're Dark Entries releases. Of course, if you've watched any of my videos, you know I love the Dark Entries label out of California, re-releasing a lot of early electronic and post-punk stuff from the 80s and signing some new acts as well. And this looks like a newer act out of Croatia called Cute Heels. And the album is called Spiritual. Very minimal early techno. It sounds a lot like early Front 242. Really warmed this a lot, so I look forward to digging into this and getting into it a little bit more. It says it was recorded in 2013 in Croatia. Here's a band out of Rochester, New York, 11 Pond. It seems like I've seen their records before, but never did buy anything or hear anything. Also, this is a reissue on Dark Entries. There's the back cover there. And they're a lot like Factory Records type stuff. Guitars, moody guitars, post-punk vibe with some icy cold synthesizers in there as well. Put the needle down on like 2 tracks on this and immediately was like, I'll take it. Sounded like everything I loved on Factory Records. 11 Pond. This album is called Assemblage, so I assume it is an assembly of, yeah, it says here, unreleased studio and rehearsal recordings. So look forward to buying more stuff from 11 Pond. Synth act out of, I believe, Philadelphia, Crash Course in Science, and this is a re-release called Signals from Pier 13, 4-track EP out on Dark Entries. Listen to some stuff by them online and really like what I've heard by Crash Course in Science, early synth pop from 1981 is when this came out. And then these 2 pieces I got at a Separate Reality, a really cool store here in Cleveland as well. They stock used records. Got this Chad and Jeremy album I've been looking for a long time, of Cabbages and Kings, Chad Stewart, and Jeremy Clyde. I've never heard it and don't really know much Chad and Jeremy. I'm hoping it'll be like very harmonic pop, something akin to Association, or maybe the Millennium Sagittarius, Kurt Betcher, kind of dreamy California folk rock sound. That's what I'm hoping. So, and then I picked up this album. I remember seeing this around in the shops back in the 80s, never bought it. Bruce Gilbert of Wire, one of his more experimental projects, a little side project put out on Mute in 1984 called This Way. So picked this up. Figured, it might be a long time before I see this one again. And I'm a huge fan of Wire. Look forward to seeing them this summer in Cleveland while they tour their new album. And here's some stuff I got in Chicago over at Reckless. This is kind of mixed in, so some of these things I might have gotten at Logan Hardware too, so it's kind of a mix. This is a Danish act called Clinic Q. Look at that cover. How could I resist? 1982, post-punky, new wave sound, heavy on the guitars, but not like rock, more just like new wave rock, with a little bit of synthesizer in there. Gave it a listen while I was in Chicago and listened to it a couple times here. Really dig it. Clinic Q. This is apparently their only album from 1982. And the album's called I. Here's a record by Salad. They were a Britpop band in the mid-1990s, and this is a record they released called Your Ma that I remember coming out, but I never did buy it. So they had a copy of it for a few dollars, like $5 at Reckless, so I went ahead and picked it up. A lot like Catatonia, I don't know, Suede, Pulp. If you're into all the Britpop from the mid-1990s, you'll like this. Echo Belly, if you like them, might be into that. And then this group, too, I've never thought much by the Heartthrobs, so I thought I'd pick up one of their earlier records, Bang. This came out, I believe, in 1989 or 90. One of those years, came out on Rough Trade. Bang, by the Heartthrobs. They have an album, I can't remember the name of the album, but it had a song called I Wonder Why. if you want to hear some heartthrobs, check that song out. Here's a band, another UK band from 1990 that were all the rage there for a hot minute, Birdland, and this is the EP Sleep With Me. I remember when this came out and I never bought it, but I did buy their other EPs that were out around the same time, Hollow Heart, and there was another one I can't remember the name of, but this was like $1, so I picked it up. Brian Brain, been picking up their stuff whenever I can find it. This is a post-punk act from the early 1980s formed by Martin Atkins, ex of PIL, and this is an EP called Culture. And they do a couple of covers on here. They cover At Home He's a Tourist by Gang of Four, and they cover Careering by PIL. So I'm curious to hear this. I haven't listened to this one yet. 12-inch by goth band, well, sort of a gothy type band from the mid-1980s, Balaam and the Angel. This one's called Love Me. Came out on the Chapter 22 label. Never owned it. Quite like their stuff. If you like Mission and All About Eve and that kind of stuff, you might like them. Temple Tudor. This one's called Let the Four Winds Blow. I never did own this album. I have their first one. Really fun pub rock meets new wave sound. I don't know. Puts you in a good mood. This song, this album has a song in it, Throwing My Baby Out with the Bathwater, which I believe they did on The Young Ones, the British show in the early 1980s. Temple Tudor. They're always dressed up in these, you know, Excalibur type, you know, outfits there. Anyway, good stuff. They're on Stiff Records. Reflex, found this for $1, went ahead and grabbed it. The Politics of Dancing, I have all the singles from this. Just never did buy the album, so I thought for $1, check it out. And it's in pristine condition, so there you go. Got these real cheap. Orbital with Angelo Badalamenti. It's called Beached. This one sounded really good, real pretty. It's exactly what you would think. Techno meets sort of soundtracky, almost like Ennio Morricone kind of vibe to it. I don't know, I liked it a lot. Beached by Orbital with Angelo Badalamenti. Here's one from the Grid. Grid being Dave Ball and I think Richard Norris. Dave Ball, ex of Soft Cell. This was their techno band from the mid-1990s. A 12-inch I never had by them called Diablo. Got a Spanish feel with a little bit of techno mixed in. Good stuff. Age of Chance, late 1980s act. They had sort of a semi-hit in the alternative charts with their version of Prince's Kiss, kind of an industrial version. This was a later 12-inch they put out on Virgin called Higher Than Heaven. Not bad, kind of got a gospel feel to it. Never did own I'm the Man by Joe Jackson. I love his early stuff. I mean, I really like everything he does up to Night and Day. I don't know if I really followed him much after that, but I really, really like his stuff, and I never owned this. So I thought, might as well get it. It has, I think the hit from it was It's Different for Girls. So, kind of been doing my Mike Oldfield trip lately, so I picked up this one, Mike and Sally Oldfield, The Sally Angie. The album's called Children of the Sun, and it's on the Transatlantic label out of Germany. So it looks like I think it's just a regular album by them. Curious to hear it. Here's an interesting collection. This is, it's called, the compilation's called Cold Waves of Color. It's a lot of early minimal synth from the early 1980s, 1981 to be exact. And it's a collection of stuff put out on the Color Tapes label. It's a cassette run label that was run by Gary Ramone, later of Sundial. So I thought, early minimal synth by a guy who was a purveyor of psychedelic music from the 1990s. If you haven't heard Sundial and you like things like Spaceman 3 and Spiritualized and things like that, check out Gary Ramone's band, Sundial. They are really good. But he goes way back to the early 80s to a label called Color Tapes. So this is some good early minimal synth. They compare it to things like Cabaret Voltaire, Throbbing Gristle, OMD, early Depeche Mode, Human League. Right up my alley. Here's something that I got turned on to in Chicago. This is an album called The Chicago Party. It's a double collection of self-released R&B disco 45s from the Chicago area in the early 1980s. And it comes with a cool booklet. And apparently this was a TV show that ran, I think, on cable access. And it was shot at a nightclub in Chicago featuring R&B bands that were local. And it's very set in 1982. The outfits are fantastic. The DVD that it comes with is a fantastic watch. There's a little bit of the booklet there. And then it comes with 2 albums, which has the acts that you see on the DVD that it comes with. The Chicago Party. Look this up. It's put out by the Numero Group. out of Chicago. This was a pleasant surprise. I'll put that together later. Okay, this is another one I picked up in Chicago. You know, I've been into this Italian guitarist, Franco Falsini. Got an album by him a while back that I really, really liked. It was called, I think it was called Cold Nose. Yeah. And turned out he was in a group called Sensations Fix. I almost said Sunshine Fix. That's another group. Sensations Fix. And this is a collection called Music is Painting in the Air. It's a lot of ambient guitar with synthesizers going on. Very mellow. If you like Brian Eno, even Durruti Column, if you're into just Tangerine Dream, spacey ambient synth with a lot of nice, pretty guitar going through it, check out Franco Falsini and the band Sensations Fix. They actually have out a few albums of their own, the band. Fragments of Light, Portable Madness, Finest Finger. I don't have any of those, but this is, I believe, just a collection of things either from those albums or around the time of those albums. Music is Painting in Air, 74 to 77. There's the back cover there. It's Franco Falsini. Great stuff. I've already listened to it, and wow, perfect for late at night. As spare two, I got this. I got a couple of these over at Logan Hardware. They have a lot of dance 12 inches. Looks like DJs kind of clean out their old collections and they sell them off in varying states of condition. You have to kind of check the condition there. But I did find a few things that were of note. Espiritu, kind of a loungy Spanish bossa nova vibe to a lot of their music from the mid-1990s. This is a 12-inch they put out in '94 on Columbia. It's a double 12-inch, and it's called Bonita Mañana. It's got a whole bunch of different mixes of it. I don't know, I quite like them. The Beloved, kind of been backtracking and picking up a lot of their stuff. This is a 12-inch they did in 1993 called Celebrate Your Life. Great deep house music. Really like the mixes on this. Here's a 12-inch by Todd Terry called the Mini LP, The Unreleased Project. Todd Terry, tons of great stuff from the late 1980s. I'm a huge fan of his. He continued on into the 90s, doing a lot of great remixes. And most notably, he took Everything But the Girl's Missing from an acoustic album track. Well, it was also single, but he remixed it into a dance floor hit and took it into the top 40, and it became their only American hit. Well, if you go back and discover his catalog, he released records under the name Royal House that are really good, Todd Terry Project, and this is just a 12-inch which has 5 different mixes, or 5 different tracks of just really rough DIY style house music. Great stuff. Turning that down slightly. Dislocation Dance is a post-punk band out of the UK, more on the funk side of things, more pop and funk with a lot of horns. Andy Diagram is their horn player. Later of James, he later joined James, and he was also a member of the Pale Fountains. Well, his horn work is all over this album. A little bit of a disco sound, but a little bit of funk, and a little bit of indie post-punk kind of a vibe. Really like Dislocation Dance. This is their final album from 1983 on Rough Trade called Midnight Shift. Dislocation Dance. 12-inch by Candy Flip. They had their biggest hit in the early 1990s, like 91 or 90, with Strawberry Fields Forever, a cover of the Beatles song. This was the follow-up called This Can Be Real, which I remember hearing on a local radio show back when it came out, and I liked it. Found the 12-inch for an affordable price, so I went ahead and picked it up. Candy Flip. Good UK house dance music from the early 90s. This came out on Record Store Day. It's by the Gods. It's called Genesis. I think many of you were showing this on the Facebook page after Record Store Day. It seemed like a lot of people picked this album up. And it comes on really nice vinyl on the Parlophone label. Look at that vinyl. Isn't that cool? And this was a Record Store Day release, pretty much done as a replica of the original album from 1968. And good bluesy rock. With kind of a psychedelic garagey vibe to it, but more on the bluesy rock side. Quite liked it. It's called Genesis by the Gods. There it is. And then I picked up Divine. I love Divine. And Divine's mid-80s streak of 12 inches produced by Stockache and Waterman are fantastic. One of them that I always loved was called Shoot Your Shot. So that I found a 12-inch in good shape to this, so I went ahead and picked it up. There you go, Divine. Mystic Braves, this is a band, unfortunately, came through Cleveland last week and I was just too tired. It was a Monday night and I missed them. Great, psychedelic, birdsy, folk rock. stuff out of, I believe they're out of California. This is an album called Desert Island. I believe it's their second album. Mystic Braves, if you're into things like, I hate to say, but Black Angels, I always make a reference to them. You know, they played Austin Psych Fest recently, if that tells you anything. So, jangly, catchy, guitar pop. Mystic Braves. Check them out. Here's one that's been on my list for a long time. My Male Curiosity by Kid Creole and the Coconuts. Now, I've always been a casual fan of theirs, but this particular record I used to hear in the first nightclub I ever went into in my life when I was 15. Far too young to be going into a nightclub, but I was. It was called the Start Club, and they used to play this song at the end of the night, and I always wondered what it was, and I later saw a video to it and discovered it was Kid Creole and the Coconuts. Went on a hunt buying all kinds of records by them, which I liked, but they never had this song on it. Turns out this was on a soundtrack. I believe it's Body Double. I may be wrong on that, but I think it was Body Double. Therefore, it did not come out on Sire. It came out on Atlantic, and that explains why it never makes it on any Kid Creole and the Coconuts collections. So, there you go. Found it as a 12-inch. The B-side, funny enough, is by Mike Rutherford. It's called Making a Bad Mistake. So, interesting. A few more things to show. This is something I got at Bric-A-Brac Records, a store in Chicago that I thought was really fun. This is a collection of Cleveland, Ohio singles, punk and post-punk singles from 1975 to 82. It's got acts like Pere Ubu, the Pagans. Looking here, who else is on here? The Human Switchboard, a group called Mirrors, Electric Eels, Rocket from the Tomes, all kinds of great stuff collected on this double album. Comes in a nice gatefold and good heavyweight vinyl from Soul Jazz. And it's a collection called Punk 45. There's also a collection from Akron, Ohio, that collects a lot of stuff from that time period from that city. Anyway, good collection there. Punk 45. It's called Extermination Nights in the Sixth City. Cleveland, Ohio. Punk and the Decline of the Midwest, 75 to 82. 12-inch by Squeeze called Sunday Street. Real cheap there. Got it for like $1. How could I pass it up, Squeeze? Here's an album I've been looking for a while by the Goldbriars. This is Kurt Betcher, a folk act that he was in the mid-1960s. He later formed Sagittarius and also the Millennium in the late 1960s. So this one just kind of has a good harmonic folk vibe. Great catchy tunes, great harmonies. If you haven't been turned on to Kurt Betcher and you like good harmonic pop a la Beach Boys, check him out. You will definitely want to hear the album Begin by the Millennium and Present Tense by Sagittarius. Those are two crucial albums to get if you like a dreamy 60s psychedelic pop. Finally, a UB40 album called UB44, one of their earlier releases that I never did own. Not much to say about it. Came out, I think, in 1982. UB44. And then lastly, I picked up a few 7-inches, and not many, but I got a few, but I'm not going to show them all here. I'm just going to show you a few of the things that were of note. This is one of those records that I always hope to find. The Magic Book by the Gibsons. So I didn't know anything about it. It was on Durham Records, which is always a good sign. I love this label. Even the design is cool. But I thought, you know, this might be really good. Man, was it ever good. Look it up on YouTube. The Magic Book by the Gibsons. It'll put a smile on your face. Killer harmonies, killer hook, killer songwriting. 60s harmonic pop, exactly the way I like it. This is the kind of record I'm always on the hunt for. And if you find it, or if you go and you YouTube it and listen to it, and you think of anything that sounds remotely like it, leave me a comment, because I love this record and everything that sounds like it. The Gibsons, The Magic Book. I believe they were British. Picked up a single by Indian Jewelry. This one's called Lost My Sight. Houston psychedelic electronic band, Indian Jewelry. 7-inch by Moon Duo. This one's called Catch as Catch Can. You don't really see Moon Duo 7-inches much. Good LA based. I don't know if they're LA based. I think they're from California. Scratch LA. I'm not sure exactly where in California they're from. But Moon Duo, one of the members is also in a group called Wooden Ships. So if you like psychedelic music of the Spaceman 3 spiritualized Black Angels variety, you can go up there, check them out. Here's one by Sons and Daughters, Scottish group. It's called Breaking Fun. Good guitar pop song. Here's one of my favorite new bands to look out for. They're called Lusts. I'm going to get this sticker out of here. Lusts. It's called Temptation. Just a good post-punky, Mary Chain-ish vibe to them. They're a brand new band. This is their debut single. It's called Temptation by Lusts. Look that up on YouTube. It's a killer song. I look forward to hearing more from them. My favorite Add End X single, Plug Me In. I always liked this. I went ahead and picked up the 7-inch. It had an unreleased B-side on the back. Electronic act out of the UK from the 1990s. Great stuff. Zola Jesus 45 called, ooh, I'm going to butcher this, Sewer. There's how you spell it. Zola Jesus, a 7-inch by her out on Sacred Bones. And then this has been on my want list forever. The debut 45 from the Skid, Scotland punk band. Punk around this time. They're later more of a post-punk band. Fronted by Richard Jobson and future big country leader Stuart Adamson. Great band, Skids. This was the only thing I never had by them. The Charles 7-inch on the No Bad label. So great coup there for me to find that one. And then a couple of 7-inch box sets. This one I picked up in Chicago called Downbeat Special, Studio One 7-inches. It's a collection of 5 7-inches. All the tracks you see here are the songs that are on the 7-inches. And I'll go ahead and open it up and show you. The singles all look like this. So, love the Studio One label. You know, love it, reggae music in general. So when I saw this, I couldn't resist. And I don't think there's a whole lot of copies of these made. So if you see one and you like reggae music and Studio One in particular, you definitely want to check that out. And lastly, I had to mail order this. Could not find it anywhere for Record Store Day, but I'm a huge Creation Records fan. And so I had to get the Creation Records box set reissue by Cherry Red of their first 10 7-inches. And it's called Creation 45 Artifact. And I'll just go ahead and show them to you. Comes in a nice little box with a nice little booklet, kind of with some liner notes by some of the bands included on here. And then the 7-inches were songs I already knew. I had them on CD, but didn't have any of these originals. They were way out of print by the time I even became aware of the label. Back in 1985, I think it was that year. The Legend, 73 and 83, that's the first single ever on Creation. These originals were in wraparound sleeves, so Cherry Red has not put them in wraparound sleeves, but they have, you know, done really good reproduction on the artwork. Great single by the Revolving Paint Dream, In the Afternoon with Flowers in the Sky. Awesome psychedelic pop. This is just so good. Biff Bang Pow, their first single, and it's called, I think it's 50 Years of Fun. Yep, 50 Years of Fun. Never had this. So, this was a band formed by Creation label boss Alan McGee. Jasmine Minks, their debut single called Think. Awesome Creation band, Jasmine Minks. This one, The Pastels, their first single on Creation, Something's Going On. Awesome, awesome song. And I never owned this, but I do have a taped copy, Do the Ghost by the X-Men. I have their other single called Spiral Girl, but I don't have this one, Do the Ghost. It's good to have this on something other than, you know, low-quality MP3 and crusty tape. There Must Be a Better Life, which is an awesome, great single by Biff Bang Pow. This is their second 45. There Must Be a Better Life. YouTube that one if you want to hear a terrific pop song. Jasmine Minks, Where the Traffic Goes, the song that got me into them. I really love this one. Great to have this 7-inch, Where the Traffic Goes by the Jasmine Minks. Awesome, great song. I keep saying awesome, but I'm just so thrilled to have these. And The Loft, who I look forward to seeing next week. Loft, their debut single, Why Does the Rain, with Like on the back. So great to have this single. And last but not least, the Legend put out the final, or the 10th 45 on Creation, and it was called The Legend Destroys the Blues. So there you go. That's the bulk of what I picked up over the last month or so. So I hope you all are doing well. Hope everything's, you know, you're finding all the records you're looking for. And if you're not buying records right now, taking a break, that's fine too. Listen to what you got. That's what I'm about to go do with these. You all have a great next couple weeks. I'll hit you back here in another month with some more purchases or an update. Also, probably give you a little tour of my music room and also my 45s. I got some new shelving and I got everything kind of rearranged. So I've got a few things to kind of tuck, you know, some loose ends to kind of tie up around here. But as soon as I do, I'll make a video of that. Okay? Keep the vinyl spinning, and thanks for watching.